Some people are born cruel, and some people are created by the damage they leave behind. This story begins with a mother who never understood the value of the life she was responsible for until it was too late. The beginning of my life wasn't a childhood, it was a battlefield. My mother never understood what it meant to be a parent. When I was 2, my little brother Mark was born, and as a typical toddler, I reacted badly. I was jealous, confused, trying to make sense of a world that kept changing too fast. But with time, my grandparents taught me love, responsibility, and patience. I grew up caring deeply for Mark more than anything else. But that didn't matter to my mother. In her eyes, I was a problem child, a burden she didn't want to deal with. She handed me over to my grandparents and focused entirely on her favorite new baby. That was the first wound she ever gave me. The family splits and the abuse, starts. By the time Mom had 4 children, me, Mark, and my 2 half-siblings, Sam and Alicia, my life had already become a mess of chaos. I was 13, Mark was 11, Alicia was barely 1.5, and Sam was just a newborn. Mom remarried a man who believed he could beat discipline into me. Every time I questioned something, every time I showed a hint of individuality, he used violence to teach me a lesson. Mom would stand there watching. No concern. No hesitation. No protection. She allowed every bruise, every scar. This was the moment my desire for revenge was born. I was too young and too damaged to understand what form that revenge would eventually take. But the seed had been planted. Mom's mistake 1. Childhood without safety, without care. My stepdad and mother never did any real housework. Instead, they waited until weekends, when my grandparents left, to dump everything on us. Sure, chores are normal. But chores don't include climbing rooftops at age 11, cleaning gutters, cutting tree branches, doing jobs adults should be doing. Every day felt unfair, dangerous, and exhausting. But there was no one to protect us. I kept telling myself, someday I'll get out, and she'll pay. The tragedy that changed everything. When I was 14, Mom told Mark and me to watch Alicia. We were sitting near my stepdad, who was busy playing video games, his priority as always. When I suddenly realized Alicia wasn't around, panic exploded. We searched everywhere, inside the house, outside the garage. We were kids. We didn't even think to check the pool. Then we heard Mom scream. When we ran outside, Alicia was lying on the deck, not breathing. I still remember the sound of Mom screaming. I remember my dad burning his hand on the stove in panic. I remember the ambulance lights. I remember the stillness. Alicia didn't survive. They pulled the plug that night. Mom's mistake too. A mistake no mother should ever be capable of making. The weight of guilt and the first court battle. Mark and I blamed ourselves, even though we shouldn't have. It was never our responsibility. But grief doesn't listen to logic. Child Protective Services got involved. My father fought for custody. He won temporarily. My grandparents fought back. My mother got us again. And through all this chaos, I held on to one truth. My mother was dangerous. Not violent. Not psychotic. But worse. Careless, neglectful, irresponsible, unfit. Her mistakes destroyed lives. And she still acted like nothing was her fault. The silent promise of revenge. All these years, I was building a fire inside me. Every beating, every insult, every act of neglect. They were bricks in a wall I didn't even know I was building. A wall between me and my mother. a wall she would never cross again. But she didn't know that yet. She didn't know who I was becoming. She didn't know the day would come when I would make her face everything she had done. And she would finally break. Some tragedies cut so deep that the world never feels the same again. And some mothers fail in ways that no apology, no excuse, no prayer can ever repair. Alicia's death broke something inside all of us, but the damage didn't stop there. Life kept moving, pushing us forward whether we were ready or not. But my mother, she kept making mistakes. Bigger ones. Deadlier ones. After Alicia passed, our home wasn't just sad. It was hollow, suffocating, and full of ghosts only we could feel. Mark, the brother who was my best friend. I was 18 now. Old enough to graduate, old enough to plan my future, old enough to hope for a normal life. Mark was 15. Still young. Still growing. Still healing from the emotional scars of everything we had survived. One day he got into a fight at school and broke his finger. Doctors repaired it with screws and pins. They gave him strong pain medication, medication that needed careful supervision. Medication that needed a responsible adult. Medication that was in the hands of our mother. Life was already fragile enough. But responsibility. She never understood the meaning of the word. The moment my world collapsed, my grandfather picked me up from school that day. His face was pale, darker than grief, heavier than fear. We arrived home, and before I could even open the door properly, I saw it. Paramedics, a stretcher, a body bag. My heart sank so fast it felt like my entire chest collapsed inward. Mark, my brother, my best friend, gone, overdose, because she wasn't watching him, because she didn't care enough, because neglect was a normal part of her motherhood. Mark didn't die from just drugs. He died from her carelessness, her selfishness, her lack of love. This wasn't a mistake. This was a crime wrapped in negligence. A second child lost. And this time the guilt was unbearable. The family war begins. The entire family split in two. My father's side, me included. My mother's side, my grandparents included. Dad said what I already knew. She wasn't a mother. If she had been, Mark would still be alive. My grandparents argued she needed understanding. They thought they could fix her. But nothing could fix what she had destroyed. CPS took Sam away. He was placed in foster care. I never saw him again. My family turned into ashes. And I was forced to live in the ruins. I was now an only child. Not because life wanted it, but because my mother caused it. The birth of real revenge. At Mark's funeral, I didn't cry. Not because I was strong. Not because I didn't care. But because I was empty. Drained. Hollowed out. And in that emptiness, something else started to grow. A cold determination. A silent promise. She destroyed 3 of my siblings' lives. And now I would destroy hers. Slowly, patiently, without lifting a single hand. And she would never see it coming. The first phase of revenge begins. My grandfather was the kindest man alive. Too kind, too forgiving, and far too willing to help a daughter who didn't deserve a second chance. Mom moved back home. She manipulated him. Used guilt like a weapon. But I wasn't letting her have it easy. Every time she tried to take advantage, I challenged her. Every demand, I pushed back. I wanted her annoyed, uncomfortable, agitated. And one day, karma stepped in. She slipped at work and severely injured her back, multiple herniated discs, extreme pain. When I heard the news, I smiled, because this was just the beginning. The pain she deserved. Her husband, my stepdad, was arrested for doctor shopping. She wanted a divorce. She came home from the hospital, helpless and hurting. I used that pain. I hid her medication. Sometimes threw it away. Watched her suffer. Listened to her cry behind closed doors. It was cruel. Yes, but losing 2 siblings because of her cruelty was worse. And then karma struck again. She crashed her car. Police found pain meds in her system. She was charged with a DUI. 6 months in jail. I laughed when I heard it. She was suffering. Her life was cracking apart. Exactly how mine had for years. And this was only phase 1. Revenge isn't always a single blow. Sometimes it's a long, cold wind that blows through someone's life and takes everything from them, bit by bit, breath by breath. My mother's 6 months in jail were the quietest months of my life. No manipulation. No drama. No shouting. No guilt trips. Just peace. And in that silence, I prepared the next steps of my revenge. The return of a broken woman. When she came out of jail, she wasn't the same. Her back was worse. Her confidence shattered. Her reputation destroyed. Her marriage over. And everything she owned. I had already moved into her room. While she was locked away, I shoved all her belongings into storage. I took her bedroom as mine. I turned my old space into a gaming room. When she came home, she had nowhere to sleep except the living room couch. A couch with metal bars underneath. A couch that dug into her injured back every single night. A couch that turned rest into torture. Every morning I watched her struggle to stand. Her face twisted in pain. Her hands gripping her spine. And every time she winced, I felt nothing but satisfaction. This was my slow revenge. My quiet revenge. My daily reminder to her. You ruined my childhood. This is the price. The move back to the old house. Time passed. We relocated to the old family house, the one where everything fell apart, the one filled with memories that felt like bruises. Mom's back kept getting worse. So did her decisions. She convinced my grandparents, especially my grandmother, to start buying drugs for her. Illegally. Dangerously. She made the connections. They provided the money. They thought they were helping her. But they were helping her destroy herself. I tried to stop them. I begged. I argued. I warned. You'll all end up in jail. She's manipulating you. My grandfather listened. My grandmother didn't. She's my daughter, I can't let her suffer. Suffer? She had caused more suffering than anyone in our family. I was done watching quietly. Anonymous tip, the revenge that failed. I called the police anonymously. Reported everything. The drugs, the dealer, the illegal purchases. But nothing happened. No raid. No arrest. No justice. It felt like the universe hit pause on revenge. For the first time, I felt defeated. Like she was untouchable. But karma has its own clock. And it never misses an appointment. My failure didn't matter. Because something even bigger was coming. The ultimate revenge wasn't action. It wasn't violence. It wasn't even sabotage. It was a sentence. A string of words that would cut deeper than any knife. Words I would deliver at the perfect moment. Until then, I kept up the small torments. Hiding her medications. Watching her panic when she couldn't find them. Letting her feel helpless in the same way she made me feel as a child. Childish? Maybe. But sometimes a childish pain makes the biggest point. The stage was set. By the time I turned 31, everything in her life was already falling apart. Her marriage gone. Her health failing. Her savings blown away. Her reputation ruined. Her relationship with me barely a thread. Her other children dead or taken. Her emotional stability shattered. And now the last pillar supporting her. My grandparents were getting old, frail and tired. Grandfather passed away. Grandmother was slipping too, slowly losing her strength and independence. When she eventually moved into a retirement home, the last roof over my mother's head would vanish. And I was waiting for that day. Waiting with a calm, cold certainty. Because when she finally looked at me for help, I would hit her with the final blow. The one she deserved more than anything. Some revenge is loud, some revenge is violent, but the most painful revenge is delivered with nothing but words, spoken at the exact moment a person realizes they have no one left. 31 years of living. 31 years of surviving her mistakes, her neglect, her cruelty, her violence, her failures. And now she was standing at the edge of the life she had ruined for herself. My grandmother wasn't doing well after my grandfather passed away. Lonely, tired, grieving. Her health declined fast, and the decision was made. She would be moving into a retirement home. The day she told me this, she also told me something else. Your mother has nowhere to go after I move, she'll be homeless. I didn't feel pity. I didn't feel guilt. I felt something simple and honest. Peace. Because this exact moment, was the destination she had been walking toward her entire life. The final conversation. One evening, I visited my grandmother to help her prepare for the move. We were talking quietly when my mother stepped out of her room. Her face looked older than her age. Defeated. Lost. She approached me slowly, like a person approaching their last hope. And then she said the words she never said in my entire life. Will you take care of me after Mom goes? It's your duty as my son. Duty. From her. The woman who never protected me. The woman who never raised me. The woman who watched me get beaten. The woman whose neglect killed 2 of my siblings. The woman whose choices destroyed our entire family. Duty. Something snapped. Not in anger. Not in pain. But in clarity. I stood up. Looked her straight in the eyes. And with a calmness colder than ice, I delivered the words I had waited years to speak. The sentence that broke her. You get nothing from me, I said. She froze. I continued slowly, every word sharp like a blade. Grandma is going to a retirement home. And I'm moving to another state. You destroyed my childhood. You caused the deaths of my siblings. You broke laws, manipulated people, and made everyone's life hell. Her eyes filled with tears. You will end up on the street. Alone. And when that happens, I will laugh. Oh, her lips trembled. She tried to speak, but nothing came out. I wasn't done. I never loved you. I never will. You will never see my wedding. You will never see my children. You will never be a mother again. Rot in hell. My grandmother's jaw dropped. My mother burst into sobs. Loud, ugly, heartbroken sobs. For the first time in her life, she felt the consequences of everything she had done. And that was the moment. The exact moment. I knew my revenge was complete. The aftermath, a circle closed. My grandmother moves into the retirement home in a few months. I'm helping her pack, making sure her transition is peaceful. After that, I will be leaving. A new state. A new job. A new beginning. Mom will have nothing. No home. No money. No support. No children. No husband. No future. Just the silence of the life she ruined with her own hands. I'm not proud of what I said. But I'm not ashamed either. Some people destroy others so completely that the only justice they understand is loss. And she finally understood it. Final message. If you have siblings, value them, love them, protect them. Because once they're gone, nothing replaces that empty space. I lost my brother, my sister, and the only family I truly cared about. My revenge was born from grief. But my peace is born from moving forward. And now, my story finally ends. And my life finally begins.